What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. And I'm coming back to another edition of the betting show today as we prepare for the massive UFC 277 card, which goes down even in the American Airlines Centre in Dallas, Texas, over in the beautiful US of A this Saturday night, July 30th, 2022. It's not a bad card, but not a great card, if you want to put it that way. There's a very good couple of title fights, one interim title fight. The most anticipated fight of the year for me in the main event between Julianna, Pena and Amanda Nunes. We will obviously get to that and talk about that. I have a bet for that. So, and funny enough, spoiler alert, it's my flyer of the week. So maybe you can guess what that might be from the start. But that's a massive fight. I did videos here on Sherdog at the start of the year, or kind of the turn of the year, I suppose. And I did like maybe my 5 fights in the year to look forward to or something like that. And this was my number one, I think. Like, this was the fight. When the second that Julianna Pena beat Amanda Nunes, this was the rematch that had to be made. Now, there's been too many rematches. We've talked about, I've done videos about that. There's been a lot of rematches in the UFC over the last while. Some very unnecessary, some necessary, some that we haven't seen. You know, this one was one that had to happen. We have to see, and I have a whole video out about it. Maybe it'll be out by the time this comes out, but about Amanda Nunes, whether it was her day or not her day, or whether it's a long-term thing or whatever, but that's a discussion for another podcast. Before we get into the bets, please bet responsibly. Don't bet more than you can. Don't go crazy with it. Please do that. If you're listening to this, that's the way I want everyone listening to this to bet. So please do that. We had a good week last week. I had I had Curtis Blades to win, and he did. You know, we can leave it at that. There's no need to say how we won or anything like that. Had another. There was a no contest under in Zarkam, that didn't go great. But we had another win as well. So basically, kind of 2 out of 3 bets. Forget about the flyer. So not too bad. A good week. We'll take that, even though like it's really 2 out of 5. But it's really, you know, you get your money back in the no contest. Will you? Or do you? I'm not sure. Maybe some books do and some books don't. But anyway, yeah, not a bad week last week. So let's get into our bets for this week, if I can find them here on my computer. Okay, first bet, I'm going for the interim title fight. And I'm going for Brandon Moreno to win a decision at plus 130. I really do think this fight is going long. And I think that it's going to be close, to be honest. And when I say it's going to be close, I think it's probably going to be a close overall fight that's maybe not close round by round, if you get me. Like, I feel like Kai Kara-France is going to start this fight really well. And I think he's going to have success in the first round and the second round. And I think maybe he will wilt a little bit after that. Moreno will keep going. Now, I would back Kai Kara-France against most guys in this division, right? And I'm backing Moreno. Let me say this as well before I go any further. And someone told me in the comment section last week, don't doubt my bets, just go for him. So I'm doing that, but I need to explain him. Moreno, I think, is the type of guy who is very hard to get out of there. You know, we've seen him in the Figueiredo fights. We've seen him in other fights being hurt, and he's very hard to get out of there. And I think if he fights the same way or has like that same thing, if he isn't in silk pajamas or whatever they want to put it, I think he'll be able to get through the first couple of rounds and maybe win rounds 3, 4, and 5. And that's why I'm going for him by decision. I think Kai Kara-France will keep going. I think he's a tough guy as well. I think he will keep going. I was thinking about Moreno late maybe, but I do think it's going to be one of those fights where it's success early for Kara-France and Moreno late. Now, the one reservation I would have in that, and sorry to the lad who's given out about me, sticking to my bets. The one reservation I would have is, will Moreno have the same, will he have the same kind of fire in the belly that he once had? And I say that because when you go in there and you fight the guy in Figueiredo, right, and you draw with him, and then you have the next fight and everyone thinks, me included, probably you're going to lose, and then you beat him, and then you come into the next fight and you lose. Like, there's a little bit, and it was a very close fight, you know, you couldn't look at that last fight and say, oh, Moreno didn't have the fire in his belly. But, like, will he have the fire in the belly for this one, considering he's already beaten Kai Kara-France? via unanimous decision as well. So I'm giving you the same bet as how it happened there. That would be the one reservation I would have with Brandon Moreno. But I think the fact that he's 28 years of age, 25 fights in, hasn't taken a whole pile of damage, never been knocked out, never been submitted, all these 6 losses or 6 decisions. Now he's taken, in his last 3 fights, he's fought 13 rounds. He's taken a good bit of damage there and given a good bit of damage to Figueiredo. So I'm leaving that to a side. I don't think it'll happen. That's why I'm going for Moreno, but that is my one reservation on this, and it's my one reservation on this fight. You've beaten the guy already. You've just gone 3 fights against the guy. You lost the last of them. You've probably a little bit more money in your bank now. You probably have and the biggest thing as well, the single biggest thing for me in his mental side of it is, is he fighting this fight to just fight the next fight against Figueiredo to get the belt back? Because for some people can do that. Some people can absolutely do that. I even saw funny Reese McKee fighting a couple of weeks ago, like a fight to get to the UFC. Like a fight in the UFC is grand, but a fight to get to the UFC might be a tough one. Like you might look past it, and he didn't, and he did very well. This is like a fight to get to the title, and it's the fact that it's an interim title also helps. I certainly do think, but the fact it's a fight against the guy you've already beaten to get back to to get back to Davidson Figueiredo. I don't know. I would find it hard to cope with that, but I'm not a high level fighter like Brandon Moreno. But that's my reservation. But I am still going for it. I'm still sticking to my bet. I think he will be able to get the better of him late as well. I think a big key and a big factor in this fight is not to take that much damage early. Like if it is the case of Kai Kara-France landing a lot of his big shots and landing a lot of his power shots, I think it could be, for anyone in the world and in that division, it's going to be hard for you to get through that if you've taken too much damage. If you, it's grand to say you're going to come on and go well in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, but what if he hits the body 5 or 6 times, What if your face is cut open? And, there could be a doctor stoppage later. I think as well, Moreno, he'd probably try to add in a few takedowns here. It's going to be harder to keep a guy down, like if you're covered in blood in the 3rd and 4th and 5th round. So that all adds into it as well. But I do think, I'll say it again, what I think is going to happen. I think the first 2 rounds are going to be good for Kara-France. There might be a turning point in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think Moreno will start to up the pace when Kai Kara-France drops the pace. And I think that will be the key. Because I think he'll be able to keep going Moreno harder, longer, later. And that will be the key for me to this fight. So him to win by decision, that's my first bet for this week, plus 130. My second bet of the week, I'm right now, I am thinking which one I'm going to say because I am really stuck between between these two guys. Do you know what? Okay, so I'll tell you what. It's the fight between Derrick Lewis and Sergei Pavlovich. Now, if you look at Derrick Lewis over the last while, I'll give you my bet in a second. If you look at Derrick Lewis over the last while, he's knocked out by Tuivasa, and I picked him to be knocked out, and I think it was a tough matchup for him. He's knocked out Chris Daukaus, Silgan. He was always going to lose that fight. And then he beat Blades, Nick Latifi, Belay Ivanov. So, in my opinion there, right, he got beaten by a better puncher, if you want to put it that way, and Tai Tuivasa is a very good fighter as well. And he got beaten by a much better all-around fighter in Cyril Gane. So to look at Derrick Lewis and maybe say his last 3 fights, maybe he's on the way down, I actually didn't get it. That'd be unfair. I actually don't think Derrick Lewis is a different fighter now than he was when he's in this great run. Now, that's based on what we've seen. Based on what's to come, we don't know what's to come. So we will see on that. And then Pavlovich from the other side of it, he got knocked out by Overeem in his debut. That was on short notice. He's won 3 in a row, 1st round finishes after that. And I have been impressed with him. But you know what? I'm going for Derrick Lewis. I'm going for him. Derrick Lewis. I never gave him respect before. I don't think I've ever picked Derrick Lewis before. I always pick against him. But he's plus 110, and I'm going for Derrick Lewis here. I just think Pavlovich is the type of guy that Lewis goes into a fight against, right? And there he is completely outmatched in terms of a technical fighter against him. But Lewis will stay safe and stay safe and stay safe and throw some big things and probably not land them, but then he'll land one and it'll be all over. That's this sort of fight. Like, that is a Derrick Lewis fight down. And now you might look at Pavlovich's record and say, Shawnee, what are you talking about? He's 12 knockouts in 15 fights, 3 in a row in the UFC. You know, knocked out Kirill Selidnikov and some other good guys outside of the UFC as well. And you would be right. You would definitely be right. But I don't think he is... Like to be someone like Derrick Lewis, I think you not only need to be a very good puncher, you need to be a very good technical fighter as well, like Tai Tuivasa. I think Tai Tuivasa is an underestimated guy. Like, if you look at Blades has become a very good technical boxer maybe over the last while. That's not the best case, but Ivanov, Volkov is the obvious one, Tybura as well, and he's beaten all of them, you know? Whereas the guys he's lost, Cormier is different, but Junior Dos Santos, he can hit and he's very technical. Mark Hunt, he can hit and he's very technical, and then, you know, it's a long way back. So he hasn't really maybe fought real big punchers, if you want to look at it that way. Ngannou, maybe he beat him in that fight. But I feel like, this is a fight that Pavlovich should win. He is a better all-around fighter than Derrick Lewis. Make no mistake about that. He is a better all-around fighter against Derrick Lewis. If this was an amateur boxing match, there'd only be one winner here. If this was a kickboxing match maybe, or whatever, I think there'd only be one winner here in terms of if there's no knockout. If this goes to decision and there isn't big, massive knockouts, I think Pavlovich wins this all day. But we're talking about MMA here. And we're talking about Derrick Lewis here. And we're talking about that chance to land that one big shot that can either knock you down or knock you out and win a round that you were losing. Can he do that once in the fight? Yeah, I think he can. Can he do it 2 or 3 times in the fight? I think he probably can as well. Like, Pavlovich is very good. He's very, very good. But is he good enough to blow Derrick Lewis out of the water? Now, maybe. Maybe he is. But I haven't watched him. I feel like Derrick Lewis could hang in there against him, could find it. Like, Derrick Lewis, I think people... do you know what people underestimate about Derrick Lewis? His intelligence. I think he's a very intelligent fighter, the way he fights. Like, people talk about Paul Craig as well last week and said it was a stupid game plan. Daniel Cormier may be one of them. I don't think you could have a more intelligent game plan than what Paul Craig did to fight against someone like Ozdemir, who was much better of a striker than him. Now, he did some things, he should have gone in for a double leg maybe a little bit more than he did, and he pulled guard maybe too much. But having said that, do you want to fight a winning, like, which is the more intelligent game, right? A winning game or a losing game, if you want to put it that way. I'll go for the winning game all day. Now, the winning game might get, or the whichever game, it might get your head bet off you. You know, it might do it. It absolutely might do it. But if you're a heavyweight fighter, it's probably going to be one big punch anyway. You know, whatever way you do. So you might as well go in there and let it be you. So I'm going for Derrick Lewis. I think he's going to be able to land that one big punch, and I think he's going to get Pavlovich out there. We'll talk about the knockout prices and stuff in a second. Next bet I'm going for, and this is a pretty simple one. I don't have too much of a breakdown of this one. Honestly, it's Ankalaev and Smith. I'm going for that fight to go to a decision. Actually, my next 2 bets are both to go to a decision, but this one is minus 110. The reason I'm going for this one as well, it's a 3-round fight, and I think both guys will stick in there for the 3 rounds, and that's basically it. And I think if you're giving me an even money bet in that, I think it's basically an even money bet. I think that's a good bet, honestly. If you look at Ankalaev's last fight against Thiago Santos, where it went to decision, and he's 3 decisions in a row, I wasn't that impressed with him, to be honest. I'd probably pick him. I haven't made my pick yet for this fight, but I would probably pick him to win this fight. But I think Smith could also win the fight based on what Ankalaev did against Thiago Santos. I think Smith is smart as well, another very intelligent guy. I think he can find ways. I think he can do things, especially if it turns into a striking matchup and he can make it a little bit dirty. I think that could favour an Anthony Smith. But also I think even if it doesn't, and even if Ankalaev keeps him in the range where he likes to fight, I think Ankalaev won't finish Smith. And I think the fight will go along. And like, that's the most likely outcome. I think Ankalaev probably keeping him out there. Look, Smith has a good few finishes over his last, he's won 3 in a row. When he has lost, though, recently anyway, he's lost by a decision to Rakic in a fight that I think could look like this. He lost by a decision to John Jones. It was a good while back as well, I suppose. Okay, Glover did knock him out, but I feel like this is one of those fights where it will be long. It will be a long fight. It will go long. I think Ankalaev he'll take time to dominate this fight if he does dominate it. I don't think this is the sort of fight where Ankalaev comes out and he keeps him at the end of the jab straight away and he keeps him a long distance, and Smith is kind of fighting scared a little bit. And scared is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. I don't think Smith has that in him. I think he'll come in and he'll try to fight. He'll try to get the knockout. He'll try to maybe get a few takedowns against Ankalaev. I know Ankalaev is very good takedown events and good takedowns of his own and all of that, but it's a fight I do see it going long. Sometimes you get a guy like Ankalaev, and he has half his fights are decisions, half his fights are knockouts, and he comes into the UFC and it kind of turns one way or the other. Now he's decision Klidson Abreu, and his last 3 in a row are decisions. Well, he has a few knockouts in the middle of that, don't get me wrong, and he's also has that, obviously, the one loss to Paul Craig as well. But I think against Smith, he will I think he'll look back at that Santos fight, right, and say, well, people maybe talked about me in a certain way, but I went out and I won that fight and I dominated him for 5 rounds against a dangerous guy like Santos. Did the exact same against Ozdemir and Krylov. 3 guys that can hit hard. Anthony Smith, okay, I don't think he hits hard as them, but he's another guy who will want to drag you into a war. I think Ankalaev in this fight will be very, very happy to make this a safe fight, if you want to put it that way. And I think that leads to going to a decision. Now, Smith won't let him do that early, but is Smith going to get him out of there early? I don't think so. And once Ankalaev kind of gets control, I think he'll go to a decision. So yeah, straight up decision, minus 110. The next fight I'm going for to go to decision is Morono versus Semelsberger. Plus 125 to go to a decision. Another one where I kind of looked at the records of both of these guys, and if you look at what has happened in their last few fights, this bet almost picks itself. Matthew Semelsberger, 3 of his last 5 have gone to a decision. He's lost one by decision to AJ Fletcher, decisioned Mills as well. He's a couple of very quick knockouts in there as well against Jason Witt and Sano, but I don't think he's knocking out Alex Moreno early here. Now, I might be wrong. No, I'm not. I'm right. I'm not doubting myself. And if you look at Morono, then decision against Gal, decision in Zovada. Okay, he knocked out Cerrone, but sure, never won. Decision against Anthony Pettis, and then decision against Reese McGee. So 4 of his last 5. 3 of the last 5 for the other lad. That's a 70% decision. I'm no mathematician, well I am. But that's a 70% knockout ratio for those 2 lads in their last 5 fights each. I think there's a good chance this goes to a decision. Semelsberger, as I said, big power, good wrestling and all of that. I think Morono's a more kind of even-keeled fighter, good everywhere. I'm not sure who'll win this fight, actually. I think it's a good fight and a close fight, and I think it will be one of those ones where neither guy really gets badly hurt throughout it. It will be one where maybe where a takedown can change the fight, where stopping a few takedowns could change the fight and get you to win. I might know, as I said it again, who knows what happens in MMA, but I don't think it's going to be one of those fights where there's going to be a big knockdown or a big knockout or something like that. And we'll see. And if it does, I think it goes to decision. So that's where I'm going in that one to go to a decision at plus 125. Right. The main event, my main event bet, my flyer of the week. And I can't believe it's this price, honestly. But Amanda Nunes to win round 1, TKO KO, and it's plus 500. Plus 500. Imagine this the last time if they're giving you plus 500 first round knockout. You would have bit my hand off for it. Look, the question is, again, I mentioned at the start of the podcast, is Amanda Nunes shot? Or did Amanda Nunes have a bad night the last time? And we will see. Was she thinking about Kayla Harrison? Was she thinking about going back up to 145? Was she looking past Julianna Pena? I would say yes, right? That's my call on it. And that's why I'm going for this. Because if Amanda Nunes comes in, right, and she's the same fighter she was before the last fight, but now has this fire in the belly that this lady beat me, shamed me, took away people calling me the GOAT. Now I think people still are, but you know what I mean. And if she has that fire in the belly with all that skill and that ability, this is going to be bad news for Julianna Pena early. And I think Amanda Nunes is going to come out there. Look, Amanda Nunes, when she's at her best, is, just remember the Ronda Rousey fight. She is pop, 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 pop. Jab, 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 jab. Combo, 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 combo. That's the type of fighter Amanda Nunes is. She throws lots of shots early and often. She's smooth and she just sails through combinations and they go, from her fist to your face. And it's donezo when Amanda Nunes gets in that. She knocked out Ronda Rousey and Chris Cyborg in 99 seconds. If she's at her best, she is going in there and she's finishing Julianna Pena early. I've no doubt about it. I've no doubt about it if she's at her best. Is she going to be at her best? I have a little bit of doubt about that. But I think that first fight reminded me, and look, Shevchenko was lucky to come through it when she got in there against Taila Santos. Just everything was a little bit off. You see it in sports. It's not just, it can be anyone. It can be anyone. We've seen it with loads of fighters down at Hindenburg. We saw it with loads of people. They no longer can kind of pull the trigger anymore. And I felt like Amanda Nunes was that. But I remember before that fight, she was talking about, I'm going to struggle to get back down to 135. I put on too much weight at 145. And then she was talking about, the Kayla Harrison thing about going back up to 145. Like, how much of that played into it? How much of the fact that Julianna Pena, well, it was the biggest shock. People still say Matt Serra and all this. This was the biggest shock in UFC history. And the reason it was a bigger shock than Serra GSP was that GSP wasn't GSP at that time. Like, was it GSP's first title defense or maybe second? GSP was 10 fights in his career or something like that. Amanda Nunes, before that fight, was the GOAT. Without a shadow of a doubt, she's beaten Rousey, Cyborg, the whole lot. All of them. And she was beaten by someone who wasn't expected to win it. Like, Julianna Pena barely got a title shot. Never mind winning it, And she was beaten in that fight. That is something that changes you as a fighter. That is something that changes how people view you. It changes how you'll be remembered. And to change that back, you need to go in there and you need to win this fight. You need to beat Pena and you need to probably beat her a second time. And I think Amanda Nunes will be ready for that. I have backed her for many years before she was champion, and I'm going to back her again. So Amanda Nunes, first round KO plus 500 to win here. Right, let's run through some bets here and start from the bottom when we go up to the top. Blood Diamond is plus 153 against Orion Kosk, minus 176. Kim and Edwards are very close. Edwards is the favourite, plus 130. Kim, minus 130. Plus 110 for Kim. Adam Fuji is plus 425 and Michael Morales minus 650. We have Drakkar Close against Rafa Garcia. That's a short notice fight for Garcia. Garcia is plus 170, minus 200 for Drakkar Close. I fancy Drakkar Close in that one. Mike Mathena, is that fight on or no? That fight's off. Nikolai is plus 106, a very close fight there against Ior Potira at minus 126. First time I've ever heard that name. That's a great name. I'll have to look into him a bit. Hamdi Abdulwa against Dantele Mays. Hamdi is plus 145, minus 170 for Mays. Then the Morono fight, very close again, plus 126 for Morono. Semelsberger at minus 146. I think that's just about right, but I like the decision there. Another fight I was looking at very closely, Perez against Pantoja. Love this fight. I think Pantoja will win. Minus 180, plus 155 for Perez. That one to go to a decision is minus 130. I had that in my bets, but I kind of took it out. I think Pantoja... I think he might get the finish there. Pantoja to get the TKO plus 750. That's pretty good to win by submission plus 500. So if you fancy one of him, might be worth an old fiver. Drew Dober plus 191. Minus 191 plus 166 for Rafael Alves even. I like Dober in that one. I think he's good there. Anthony Smith is plus 400 if you fancy him. Early against Ankalaev, maybe. Ankalaev is minus 600 there. Derrick Lewis is plus 110. Pavlovich is minus 130. I told you I'd look up the Lewis KO. That's plus 125. Yeah, there's not a big difference between that and the price itself, so I'm sticking with the plus 110, and that's why I did that as well. Then Moreno, we have at minus 210. We have Kai Kara France at plus 180. Let's look at a few of the bets there for that. The over under 1.5 rounds. Very, very low, minus 505 for the over, and the under is plus 365. And we go to the fourth round then. The over under there, minus 160 for over, and the under is plus 130. If you like Morono to get the finish, plus 650 for the TKO, and plus 400 for the submission, yeah. And the KO for Kai Kara France, plus 475. If you fancy that early, that's not a bad bet at all. And I would look at that one, definitely. And in the main event, Amanda Nunes is a favourite, but not a massive favourite. Minus 285, plus 245 for Pena. The over under 1.5 rounds, which I think might be good. The under is plus 155. But why not back Amanda Nunes for the first round KO? Now, maybe she will submit her as well. We look at that price in a second, but I think it's interesting. Nunes to just win straight up KO, plus 140. So to add in the first round, you got a lot more. I like that. Pena to get the KO plus 900. Then the submission, Nunes plus 550. Pena plus 450. You know, Nunes by submission as well. I could see that. Definitely see that happening. So yeah, those are the bets there. Nunes just to win inside the distance is plus 135. Pena minus 135 plus 2. What am I looking at? Plus 325 for Pena to win inside the distance here. And if you fancy to go long, Nunes has gone long, and we've seen lots of fights when they have lost and they're coming back, they do go a bit longer. So Nunes to win by decision plus 325 there as well. But no, I would avoid that. All right, everyone. I'll give you a look at my bets again. Moreno to win by decision, plus 130. Lewis plus 110 to win straight up. Ankalaev and Smith to go to decision, minus 110. Semelsberger and Moreno to fight to go to decision is plus 125. And my flyer of the week, Amanda Nunes by TKO KO in the first round at plus 500. All right, everybody, I will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.